Hey, everybody. We are here with the lead singer of one of my favorite bands. And I don't just say that because they occasionally let me sell their merch. Uh, Brendan Brown, Brendan B. Brown, as he's sometimes known, of the band Wheatus. Brendan, thank you so much for coming and hanging with me for the next half hour as we talk about this massive album that you put
I'm
out 25
prepared for
years
the
ago.
I am so ready for the best 30 minutes of my life.
You as am I. Let's get this one out of the way real fast, which I want to ask you over the however many years that there's been this renaissance. What is the question you are the most sick of answering related to the band Wheatus and the song Teenage Dirtbag?
I have to be honest, I'm not sick of answering questions about the band, about our lives, about the career, about the song. When I was 10 years old, I saw Angus Young on TV and I dreamed of having any kind of version of that unfold for me in life, and it has, and I am not sick of it. I mean, I have worked real jobs. So I know the difference, and I'm fine. We're fine. Everything's fine.
I assumed it would be the question, what does it feel like to have a song on the American Pie soundtrack when you didn't? But
I'm not even sick of that one. I mean, it's like the fact that the song gets associated with a movie that was bigger than the movie that it was actually in is
yeah.
hilarious to me. Um, and also like kudos to people for even caring, because this 25 years ago there was like a flurry of rom-com, like, sort of risque comedies that came out, and on the heels of that there were a bunch of pop punk songs
Yeah.
that were on the heels of that, and I just the being associated with it isn't a problem for me. Are we pop punk? That's a question that could bear some debating. I would think the answer is absolutely no.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't begrudge being lumped in with that group of music, because I don't mind that music at all. Like, quite a few of my favorite songs are in the genre, and like, it's fine. So yeah, we're not upset about anything.
You guys do exist in this pretty cool little space where it's like you can go on tour with like a Bowling for Soup or a Real Big Fish and like fit in pretty okay in there, but you could also go on tour with some like crazy proggy indie rock band and also fit in there. Like you kind of have this really unique. I've never seen you guys play a show where it didn't feel like you were completely out of place with who you were playing at, which is, I mean, I've literally watched you guys have one of your opening acts be a klezmer punk band, and I was like, sure, like, this absolutely makes
There
sense.
through the years there have been like a handful of bands that we've played with that I thought, oh, they're made from the similar stuff that we're made from.
Yeah,
Too bad we didn't meet them when we were kids, kind of thing.
yeah.
And those bands include Mock Orange, Math the Band, now Math the Band, um, I Fight Dragons, um, a handful of others that really are just like in places, like a They Might Be Giants kind of space where it's like, what is it? Or a Ween space where it's
Yeah.
like, what is it? What is this? I don't know. And stop asking and enjoy yourself, like that kind of thing.
I know another one that your bassist, Matt, has mentioned before on the podcast I do with him, Weird Algorithm, that, like, a band like Presidents United States of America would just be, like, a dream band for Wheatus because you both kind of similarly live in this, like, impossible to hold down a specific genre to explain kind of band. Like,
Yeah, that's a good example. Cake is another example, I
yeah.
think.
It's, like,
Primus would be
geeky,
another
but
example.
it's proggy, and it's definitely not, like, the most radio-friendly stuff while still being radio-friendly. Like, it's like, oh, yeah, like, Teenage
Yeah.
Dirtbag absolutely makes sense as a radio hit, but there's also a world where you could listen to it and say, "There's no world where they would play this on the radio." Like Like,
Well,
it
that's
kind
what
of
I
walks
thought
that cool
when I
line.
wrote it. When I was done writing it, I was like, "Well, it's not a radio song because it's 4 minutes and 20 seconds long, and you can't cut any of those minutes because it's required for the narrative. It wouldn't make sense if you cut
Yeah,
any of this song." So I realized that it was in a spot that I didn't think it would do that kind of thing. And frankly, at first it didn't. Like in America, it came out. It was supposed to be a radio single in the summer of 2000, and it kind of wasn't. It came and went very quickly on the alternative rock chart. It made it up to number 7, and then died right off real fast. As did our touring in the United States. We did well for a few months with the likes of Harvey Danger, SR-71, Eve 6, uh, um, Zebrahead, um, and a handful of other bands, and then we stopped touring America for quite some time after that. I mean, we didn't tour America again until 2005 or 4, I guess. So there
yeah,
was, and we spent those years overseas, uh, following the success of the album wherever it went, which was all overseas, really.
yeah,
So we didn't think we had something for radio or for mass appeal or any of that for years, and the fact that it was a Radio One single only brought me around to the idea that, like, well, examples for that include Bohemian Rhapsody, which shouldn't have been a single either, but wasn't didn't reach its mass appeal point until it was in a film 20 years after its release, or 15 or 20 years after its release. So I was kind of settled into that, that's probably not going to happen to us kind of feeling,
yeah,
and it wasn't a pop single for me. That
yeah,
wasn't like that.
and then, I mean, obviously, when the TikTok thing happened, like, 4 or 5 years ago, and it kind of had its huge resurgence through that Dirtbag challenge, but that's not, like, sometimes TikTok can, like, resurrect a song that everyone forgot, but I don't think anyone ever really forgot Teenage Dirtbag. Like, for the last 25 years or so, anytime I've gone to a wedding of people of a certain age, it's a song that gets played and people sing along, and it's a song that you hear at karaoke. I think with the TikTok thing, it just kind of introduced it to a whole different generation of kids who maybe weren't around in the 2000s when it hit, and then just reminded everybody, like, oh yeah, this song is more than just like a fun song to sing with your friends. It's a really well structured, layered, fun storytelling song that everybody can kind of relate to. um what was your, like, when do you would you say the post TikTok is like the highest that song has been for people, or have you
I
seen it over
think,
these 25 years, like the ebbs and flows?
yeah, after One Direction covered it in 2013, I saw it begin to tick upward. It had been ticking upward, like, slowly. You know, Chris Carrabba had always covered it, so it was
Yeah.
like it was maintained in some sense, um, through the years, through the 2000s. And then in 2013, with the One Direction thing, that began to tick upward. We played an arena tour, a sold out arena tour opening for Busted in 2016, which was a bit of a revelation because it was like kind of the biggest sing along of the night. Like it was
Yeah.
crazy how people were responding to that song, and these were way younger people who weren't even paying attention to music when our first record came out. So that was like strange and fun and interesting. And then a few more sort of hits of that. I don't mean like hits as in like radio hits. I mean like just moments of stuff happening with the song from 2016 through 2020. Then pandemic was like we were recording the first album over again, and we were getting some press on the idea that the master had been lost and what happened to this song and all this stuff. And it became, at that point, I think, in its 20th year, it became sort of like a lost song, a little bit, sort of. And then TikTok found it, and I would say that what had happened was TikTok made this sort of slow upward climb become like a sustainable plateau that
Yeah.
now is turning into touring for us. That's year round,
Yeah.
and
It's hard to record
um,
Weird Algorithm the last couple of years because we have to work around, like, 2-month tours every once in a
yeah,
while. It's awesome, though.
yeah.
It's a great problem for my friend to have. Like, I'm never
Well,
gonna.
we have to figure out a way for Matthew to get hooked up in podcast world on the bus,
Yeah.
because then he can do it remotely. I'm sure that there's got to be a way to
Listen,
figure that
after
out. But
after we finish all Weird Al's catalog, we'll just do a Wheatus podcast. We'll just go track by track. I do want to ask you because you did mention, like, all right, you wrote this song and you're like, well, this is certainly not going to be a radio song because it's 4.5 minutes. It says gun and a bunch of other words that are going to get censored. It's narratively. What of the 10 songs on the album did you think was this is our radio single at the time, or
I
did you
thought
just
"Love
think
Is
there
a Mud
wasn't
from
any?
Hell." "Love Is
Okay.
a Mud from Hell," I thought was one. I thought that maybe "Leroy" could be one. I thought "Sunshine" was a quirky
I
little ditty.
I was thinking Sunshine. Sunshine was that was the song that when I heard that, I was like, "Oh, there's a lot to this band that I'm gonna like." Because like on Teenage Dirtbag, it's like at that time in 2000, you could just throw a million songs out there where you love this song and buy the album, and then you're like, "Oh, the rest of the album's not really scratching the itch that I was looking for."
Sure, yeah,
And
yeah. That was the era of them putting one great song on a record and 19 that sucked. But
100%, and Sunshine was when I was like, "Oh, no, I'm going to definitely like this." Like, the fact that there was something else so catchy and poppy right up in the front of the second track of the album is almost catchier than Dirtbag. I was like, "Oh, this band's got chops." Like
yeah, that was kind of like the variety of production that we were trying to include on the record was like, how Sublime had like an alt rock radio hit with "Lovin' Is What I Got," right?
Yeah,
Which isn't technically speaking a rock song. It's more like a sort of laid back, sort of hip hoppy folk thing, akin to G Love and Special Sauce of and that kind of vibe. Um, Again, a sort of like a Bare Naked Ladies or They Might Be Giants space in terms of its impact of like the rock and roll quantity, like
yeah,
how hard it impact. And I thought that we had covered our bases with Sunshine on not having every song be the big distorted guitar song,
yeah.
right? So, and it was chill. It was chill, and so was "Wanna Be Gangster," sort of chill and laid back, a little bit quirkier, but yeah. But the there was no feeling for that song for Sunshine at the record label. In fact, it was just kind of like ignored entirely. And I think that that had very much to do with we were white suburban kids playing guitars in the year 1999 2000, which meant to the label and their marketing teams that we had to be a three-piece pop punk band because there
Yeah.
were two successful, maybe even more than that, versions of that on the radio right now, and that meant that they could coattail on that, right? Except the only problem was we were a four-piece with a multi-instrumentalist percussion player. We were a little bit more eclectic than what they were kind of seeing, and I think that they edged Sunshine out and "Wanna Be Gangster" out of the mix for that reason and said no to those songs.
Mistake. I think that that's a mistake on especially on the Sunshine front. Now I've seen you play a lot of these 25 anniversary shows that you've been doing this past year, and, there is a song on the album that I feel like you make your I won't say disdain, but your feelings about the song are pretty well known, and it's the opening track, "Truffles." What is I'm assuming just based on how you react to that song is that this is a very old song that just kind of ended up on the album.
People think I dislike it, and I don't.
Yeah,
It comes with an enormous caveat, though, and that is that um, the the way that I learned how to use language as an art form or as something that was even at the time weaponized or as a protective uh, device or any of that stuff was by learning how to diss in school, and it
yeah,
was the use of those words and the gradual influence of hip hop and hip hop, freestyle battling that was influencing kids in the 80s, especially in Nassau County, where freaking, you know, Public Enemy was from, and we were beginning to have mixtapes that had Metallica and LL Cool J on them. And then there was, of course, the Beastie Boys, which was like, they were white guys who were talking this way and to each other, and like, um, it almost effectively altered. It did and didn't almost. It totally effectively altered the way that school kids spoke to one another, especially in my kind of shitty all boys Catholic Nassau County, commuter school, which was, if you didn't know how to talk to each other like that, you were going to just get your ass kicked. I mean, it was just, you had to be able to have a comeback, and you had to be able to be sharp and snappy, talking about someone's mom, like for real. And a lot of that talk ended in actual fights. Like that's the
Yeah.
only thing I ever got demerits for at Chaminade was fist fighting. So, it would be thoroughly dishonest to have our first record have absolutely no be sanitized in to the degree that you had no concept of where the origin of me using words effectively was,
Yeah.
you know. So that, I mean, that's a long-winded way of saying it's the shit talk from school.
Yeah.
It's just it's, and the art of the shit talk from school,
Well,
because it
and I
couldn't
think
just, yeah,
I feel like there's a lot that gets lost to, and this is not just a Wheatus problem. This is like a music problem in general, is that there's also a lot of character songs on the
sure.
on that album that are not necessarily you writing about your own feelings or even endorsing the emotions and feelings of that, but writing from the perspective of a character. But like there is an easy world where someone, that's the problem with any form of art, right? Like there's still people who don't get what Fight Club is about, and it's not about starting your own fight club. You
No, it's
know,
not.
you know what
That would be breaking the rules of Fight Club. And furthermore, the 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 sad thing of what you're like, you'd have in the Weird Al world, right?
Mhm.
Thank God for Weird Al, because there are character studies upon character studies upon character studies of these of he's literally like almost like a museum curator,
Yeah,
like walking through the hall of human shittiness. Like, hey,
yeah,
look at this piece of junk that happened. Now I'm gonna adapt their voice for a second and show you how they spoke to each other and what the thought process was. And you get from Weird Al the real look under the hood of like American communication culture, right?
yeah,
An American perspective or worldview, that and then this is the art of a comedian, right? The comedian is supposed to show you how to discuss something nobody wants to talk about in a way that you feel comfortable doing it and is acceptable and that's the art of comedy, right? I was just talking to Matthew about this regarding Marin's recent visit to podcasts and what he's been saying about all the punching down, and the bad hacky
yeah.
comedy that's
And he's
that's
not wrong. If you're of a certain mind
right.
about
I
comedy,
mean,
you're like, finally someone saying it. Like,
yeah, yeah, and that, but but if what you're saying is just something that you feel like you should say because it's controversial, and you don't and you lose half your audience or more than half your audience, it's not because they're woke, it's because you suck. Like,
yeah.
it's because you failed, you fucked up, like you didn't do it, you didn't do a joke, like like your
When
primary purpose was unfulfilled. So, I mean, this is like where we are right now. We're having this like debate about what words are,
yeah.
not what they mean, what they are.
Well, and
Like,
but I feel like it becomes like one of those circumstances where you get frustrated because you do have these people that absolutely insist that like progressive people are quote unquote ruining comedy and freedom of speech. And then you look at like Trey Parker and Matt Stone or Anthony Jeselnik or any of these very like boundary pushing people that are able to get away with it because they're not punching down on the less fortunate. They're punching up at the oppressors of the less fortunate. And it's like that's the
Yeah, well,
secret
yeah,
sauce.
you know,
Like
it really is. It really is. And look, if the free market of ideas and consumer entertainment doesn't like you won't have to ban it off of your network. Considering it
exactly.
you won't have to ban your most popular show if it's not good. And this
Yeah.
is the point that we've reached. We're saying no, we don't want the good stuff. We're going to
Yeah.
ban it because it makes this group of people feel like they're essentially like trying to bring slavery back, which they are.
Yeah.
So you go caught with your pants down and you're like, I'm not naked, it's fine, I'm just gonna ban your ability to say that I'm naked. How
Yeah.
about that? And I'll just keep my pants down and we'll just all agree that it's fine for me to have my pants down and it'll be okay, right?
Yeah, we're living in, like, the political version of the emperor's new clothes. Like, that's, like, basically where we're at. Like
Sure. And if I could bring it back around to truffles just for a second, right? As I said, some of those like open trash talk diss sessions ended up in a fist fight.
yeah,
And if Joe anti-woke comedian uh gets heckled, step into the crowd and punch somebody, asshole. See what happens.
yeah,
Like I don't like this idea that we don't know how to fist fight anymore. I think that used to be fine. And I'm not talking about these like MMA jerk off assholes who fight on mats. I'm talking about street fighting, man. Like where anything could happen.
yeah,
Where if the outcome was undetermined and there's
yeah.
no referee. If you're comfortable with that, then you don't have to ask me to debate you on your podcast. Just fucking hit me. Like let's see what happens. Like unravel it, like
Let
cuz you
let it turn into that scene from They Live.
yeah, man. You ever been like the number of people who are on podcasts talking about how like we need to be more, guerrilla mindset. And these motherfuckers had never been punched in the face in a street fight that were with by somebody they didn't know. Like, are you kidding me? Like, I mean, it's always these dudes. It's always these dudes who have this like they're so tough that they're punching down on trans people, right?
Yeah,
You
oh, yeah.
fucking
What a
are
big
you
man.
kidding me? They
Yeah,
have no rights. Trans people have no rights and no access to healthcare and no societal like power or voting block or anything whatsoever. That's your big fucking that's your establishment people
yeah,
that you're attacking.
yeah.
That's who you're ripping down.
Yeah,
The fuck out of here.
let's go to, like, 1% of the population that's just trying to live without being murdered for who they are,
Yeah,
and real
that's who's the establishment. That's the establishment. We're gonna tear them. Shut the fuck up,
yeah,
ass
it's
white.
so frustrating.
You don't have to get frustrated is my point. You can tell them they're a bunch of fucking imbecile idiots. One of the problems I have with people on the left is that we tend to use a few more words than we need to.
Yeah,
You can just call somebody a cunt.
and then
Like
just walk away.
fuck you, you dumb cunt. Like fuck you, you Nazi dumb cunt. I don't like punch me if you don't like it. See what
Yeah.
happens.
No, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. Well, I feel like what you're trying to say, and I'm gonna use this to segue into my next question, is that some of the people out there are being punk ass bitches, which which I until this most recent tour, I don't think I ever actually realized that you have, like, next to nothing to do with this
No, I did.
actual
I know
song.
not next to nothing, literally nothing to do with that song. I
You
am
don't even
not on
sing it.
that recording.
Yeah, like, I had no
No,
clue.
no. I had the only thing you could accuse me of on that is I had set up the drum mics a week earlier, and I'm certain that Rich probably moved them to his liking right before they recorded the drum track. I had nothing to do with that song. Nothing. It was a part of our compromise, our sort of inclusive agreement, verbal agreement back then that if you wrote a song you could get it on the record as long as you told everybody else what to do. And when it came time for him to tell me what he wanted me to do on it, he told me to go home. So I went home.
And of course, that, like, weirdly becomes, like, one of your second most noteworthy songs, but only with the different lyrics about Jackie Chan,
Sure.
which I
Yeah.
do love that a children's cartoon pointed to a song called "Punk Ass Bitch" and said, "This is gonna be the theme song for our Saturday morning kids
I
cartoon."
you
How did
know,
that
it's
happen?
like um again, having had nothing to do with the song, I'm not entirely sure how it happened because they had to contact Rich to deal with that directly. So I didn't sing the new lyrics. I didn't sing the old lyrics. I didn't approve an interpolation for the Jackie Chan cartoon.
That's so
Uh
crazy. That's so
just it's not
weird.
my, it's not in some sense it's not strictly speaking a Wheatus piece. It's more of a Rich Leegee solo piece, which I was fine with including on the record at the
Yeah,
time. And I have to say, I'm in some sense, I'm kind of grateful that people appreciate it because it's just another reason to get into the album. And I've noticed that a lot of the people who like that song, especially the original album cut, um, are not necessarily people who like our second and third record.
yeah,
It's like they wanted Wheatus to be some other kind of like more structured pop punk, approved thing, which that song kind of uh emulates. It's a real touchstone for the people who would show up for that kind of music.
yeah.
Um
But
and we
it's their
cover
loss
Green
because
Day and Weezer.
I love that second album. That Hand Over Your Loved Ones or the Suck Phony version,
Right.
like, both of those are phenomenal releases. I'm not sure if Matt told you. I'm gonna bring up Weird Algorithm one more time. Did Matt and Joey tell you about the Weird Al thing related to Suck Phony that we discovered?
Related to Suck Phony? No.
So
No, I
when
don't know about
Al
this.
did the song Canadian Idiot, he wanted to include the Strange Brew theme in the middle of the song and
Oh,
was
yes.
denied the approval for it. And we were like, and then Matt was like, I'm pretty sure we have that Strange Brew theme in our Hit Me With Your Best Shot cover. And now I don't know how we did that. Like,
We so that's that Hit Me With Your Best Shot cover was, our publishing company who also, I think, had the catalog for the Pat Benatar music. I think
oh,
was also a co-publisher. We were asked to do, um, uh, uh, the music for, a hockey highlight reel that showcased all of the really hard checks and hits of the season prior
and I'm
because
seeing
that
how Strange Brew comes into this now
yes,
suddenly.
because that year hockey had been canceled. There was a strike and there was no hockey season in, I think, 2004 or 2005. So the NHL was trying to keep eyeballs in their direction and issued this published this video, VHS and DVD of the hardest hits of the NHL from preceding years. Um, and we were asked specifically to do "Hit Me with Your Best Shot" for that reel, for that
It's a great
compilation.
cover, but that's so funny. That's
Yeah, and I thought to myself, "Well, there's absolutely no way not to use the do 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 like the fight, the brainwashed fight song from Strange Brew." It just made such sense. So we were, well, for this is the kind of video we're doing. So, um, and so we just threw it in there and nobody ever said anything to us, and it never got noticed, or maybe we flew under the radar enough back then to not
so
to
amazing.
yeah.
I love that though.
But it's
That's
so
so fun.
crazy that
That's
Al
so
got
funny.
denied. I can't believe Al got denied, and we just got slipped it in. I don't know.
Well, I guess my last question as we're hitting the 30-minute mark here is, you've got these 10 songs and they're all fairly beloved, but I have this theory about musicians that every musician has at least one song that in their heart they feel like the audience isn't giving it the love that they, the writer, feel like it deserves. Is there a song on this album, as people are getting ready to re-listen to it after 25 years, that you feel like, guys, really give that one a little extra time because I think it's amazing and I wish more people wanted to hear us play it live.
If you're not talking about the B-sides,
Okay,
Pretty Girl, and I'd Never Write a Song About You, which are get
awesome.
requested a lot at
Yeah.
shows. I would say that I think the best written song on the record is "Love Is a Mud from Hell."
Okay.
That one felt to me like it was the right size and length and the right tempo to be a pop hit, and it was kind of bittersweet love stuff and concise and still a little narrative story. Couple of vignettes in each verse. Kind of thing. Quick and easy to digest and interesting from the standpoint of the rhythm and the verses because it's got a little bit of the influence of Motown from like Tears
Yeah.
of a Clown kind of vibe. And I felt like that one was one that the label would have if they had anybody who knew anything about music would say, yeah, this one's got something, and they never did, so nobody noticed it. So but again, all these years later, it got called the last time we played 2 nights ago, and it got called the time before that, and it gets called almost every night. So it's worked its way into people's minds
There you
in
go.
spite of all that. Yeah.
Well, today for the 25th anniversary, when you're listening to the album, maybe listen to that one twice. Give that one a second listen.
I
And
think on the
shout
I
it
think
out
on
at
the
a
fir-
Wheatus show.
yeah, I think
Like,
on the first recording, we kind of came close but missed in terms of getting the mix right and the production right. And on the second recording, I think we really drove it home. I think it makes a lot more sense on the 2020 version. It feels better to me anyway. So,
well, I
yeah.
love that. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me.
Thanks for having me, man. This is really fun. I could have done this for an hour, really. Seriously.